I think watercolor is such a beautiful and gorgeous medium to work with. It is transparent, it is easy to mix and easy to blend on the paper. And one of the favorite thing about watercolor is that it is unpredictable. And it seems like the less control you have, the nicer results you're gonna get with watercolors. And that is the reason that I love watercolors so much. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Teresa and I am a self-taught watercolorist. I love painting nature, and you will see most of the paintings are botanicals like trees, flowers, and a lot of landscape because that is such a favorite thing to paint. And if this is something that you find interested, I would love you to consider subscribing to my channel because I will post a lot of watercolor tutorial on this channel, and I try to make it as fun, as simple as much as I can, so that even if you are a beginner and you never hold a brush, you can do it as well. In today's video, we're going to paint a very easy and simple landscape. I got it on my iPad, and this is one of the photos that I took when I was taking a walk with my husband. This is a place called Sandyvale Landfill, and this is a very huge place. They actually have a park inside where people can walk and can cycling, and where you can see a very good view of mountain and trees. And with this tutorial, I will show you step-by-step tutorial how to paint from a reference photo. I'll show you how to develop a sketch from the beginning to applying watercolors onto the paper using a variety of techniques, and in the end turn everything into a lovely, vibrant and colorful watercolor painting. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through the supply that I am going to use for today. If you watch my previous videos, you will see that I only have one palette, which is the Winsor & Newton Codman by Winsor & Newton. This is a student gray watercolor, but I think that is very good, and I got this from a set. This is a tube watercolor, so I got it in a set, which includes about 20 watercolor pens, and I think this is a very good one to start with, even though they're still in gray, but they're very vibrant and have a good quality pen. And in case if you use a tube like this, you will need a palette. I ordered it from Amazon, I think, and they have an empty pen for you to pour the pens inside, and they also have a very spacious mixing area for you to mix the watercolors. And for the watercolor paper, today I'm going to use the Archie's watercolor paper, 100% cotton and 140 pounds. I highly recommend that you spend more money on high quality paper because paper is the most important factor that makes such a huge difference in your painting. For brushes, I don't consider myself as someone who has a big collection of brushes. I only have a couple of them, but most of the time I find myself only use one or two brushes. So today I'm going to use the Princeton Aqua Elite brow brush size number 6. And for the detail, small detail or thin line, I'm going to use a size 6 silver red black velvet. I don't know if you can see it. And yeah, that's the most important materials for any watercolor painting. And next, it's just something that you will need to have, but you can find it in your kitchen. You don't have to spend a lot of money on these. You will need 2 cups of water. One is to brush off the pigments on your brush, and the other is the clean water in case you need to wet the paper or you need your brush to be completely clean so that you can apply another pigment. And I also have masking tape so that you can tape the paper down to your desk in case you want to have a clean and nice edges. And I also have like a bottle spray. This one I just got from dollar store, like $1 or $2, so that I can spray on the pens in case they too dry. And I think it's very handy and convenient, so you can have it as well, but if you don't have, that's okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it, all the things that you need for today painting. So without further ado, we're gonna get into the painting right now. And now to get started, I'm just gonna use my masking tape to tape down the paper so that when we finish, we're gonna have a clean and very nice edges. To get started, I'm gonna grab a pencil and I'm going to do a very slight sketch, and it's gonna act as guidelines for us to apply watercolor later. So remember, this is a slight sketch, so you don't actually put a lot of detail for the sketch. It's very slight and very simple. So I also have the photo here with me on my iPad, and yeah, so first I'm going to draw the skyline where the sky meets the earth. You can see here it's like 1/3 of the photo, and I'm gonna keep it that way since there's not much going on with the sky. It's just a very clear and simple and blue sky, so there's not much going on. Then I will keep the sky area very small, like 1/3 of the painting. And this is where we're gonna draw the mountain. So I'm just gonna very loose with the mountain. Mountain is very organic, so you don't really have to do it very perfect. It's just so organic, and just let it loose like this. I hope that you see, because I just keep it very light like that. And okay, and next I'm going to have a light for the pond right here, just to distinguish between the area so that we don't get confused when we start with the watercolor. So right here. Yes, and also on two sides will be a lot of grasses and bushes. And from far away, right here, you can see that there's like big trees. So I'm gonna put the trees over here. Like that. And this area are gonna be a lot of trees and grasses, also this as well. And in the middle we have a little pond with water, so we're gonna paint reflection of the grasses and bushes, also reflection of the sky. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the sketch. Just keep it very light and simple. And now we ready for to apply the watercolor. Now we're going to mix the colors for the painting. And before we get into that, I just want to give you some advice. As you can see that usually if you are the landscape lover, you will surely use a lot of greens in your painting. And the key to have a vibrant painting is to have a different shades of colors. So as you can see, this is my sketchbook and I've been painting a lot of landscape. So I decided just to sit down and make my green mixing chart. Here this is. It's just to discover and explore different shade of greens that I can make out from the colors that I already have. And if there is any colors you really like, then you also have this as a reference for the future paintings. Yeah, as you can see, I've been making a lot of mixing for the greens because I'm painting a lot of landscape, so definitely greens will be used a lot in my painting. And I forgot to mention that it's always handy to have like a scrap paper. It doesn't have to be expensive, high quality paper. It's just any paper will do the trick. It's just a paper for you to test out the color before you want to apply onto your painting. And now we're going to mixing the colors for the sky first. So I am going to use my spray bottle to just spray the pens like that. And now you're going to get some color for the sky. As you can see on the photo, this is a very clear blue sky, so mostly the combination of the colors I usually do for the sky is this cerulean blue, and also adds a very light wash of ultramarine as well. So this is the combination that I usually use for painting any blue sky, and it works quite well in all of my painting. And again, as I say, if you want to have a vibrant and more interesting painting, it's always a good idea to mix different shades of the colors. Like these are two shades of blue. The cerulean blue is the cool blue, and the cerulean blue here, and the ultramarine is the warm one. So I will use the cerulean on top of the top part of the sky. I'm going to apply water, clean water onto the sky area first. This is the wet on wet technique. Just make sure that you don't leave any hash line. So use wet on wet technique so that the paints can blend well with onto the paper. It's just a very light wash. You can always come back later and add more colors if it dries too light. And I also get some ultramarine for the bottom part of the sky. And remember, always use clean water to blend out the edge so that you don't have any hash line. If it's too light, can always add more pigment. Make sure that the bottom part of the sky always lighter than the top part. Is the perspective. It is the atmospheric perspective. Yeah, and now we're gonna leave the sky like that and wait for it to dry, and after it dry we're gonna start to paint the mountain. Now I think that my sky is completely dry and I am going to move on with the mountain. Make sure that your sky is dry. This is we call wet on dry techniques, because I want to have a clean edge of the mountain. So if the sky is still wet, you're gonna get the bleeding, which is something that we don't want in this case. Yeah, and now I just follow the pencil line that we drew earlier and slowly paint the mountain. Make sure that you let it very loose, and yeah, just follow the line, the pencil line that you only drew in the beginning, then you're good to go. I'll add a little bit of ultramarine here and there to make it more colorful. And you can go back and use clean water to clean the edge. at the bottom of the mountain. I just want that the darkest value of the mountain is located at the top to indicate with the viewer that, to communicate with the viewer that there's a mountain far away. And for the rest, we just use water to blend it out. And it's very light value. Remember, in watercolor painting, the lighter value and the less detail we put in an object, the further it's gonna appear to be. But the more detail and the darker value, it's gonna appear to be upfront, closer to the viewer. Just a little bit of different value. That's all we need. And yeah, that's pretty much for the mountain. I will stop painting the mountain here and also wait for the mountain layer to be completely dry before we move on with another layer. Now we're going to paint the grasses and bush in the front, which is surrounding the little pond here. This is gonna be the subject that's closer to the viewer, so we're gonna add more detail into this area. And we're gonna lay the first layer, and as you can see in the photo, I can see like a little bit of green here and a little bit of maybe yellow ochre and cadmium yellows for the dry grasses, and also brown color as well. And on this side, it looks like it have more shadow, so probably I think that the sun comes from the left side. So in this area, I'm going to mix the green, but will be darker green compared to this side, and also have like yellow ochre for the dry grasses as well. Yeah, so let's get into the color mixing. And now we're going to mix a couple of greens. Here I have two pre-made greens that are already included in the Cotman set, which is the hooker green here. If you can see that the color is very bright, and this is Viridian green. Is it too bright for my liking? I prefer the early toned, like kind of muted natural tones. So I'm going to mix these two colors and turn them into a little bit darker greens. So I'm gonna use, this one is hooker green, and usually I'm gonna mix with brown so that it's gonna turn into a little bit darker. And usually the thing that appear to be upfront, you're gonna use a lot of warm colors as well. Just a two. And maybe a little bit of sap green as well. This is all about testing and experimenting, so don't worry if the colors turn out doesn't look exactly like mine. It really depends on personal reference, and if you like vibrant and bright colors, by all means go for it. This is just my personal reference that I like to mix the greens that I already have, so it doesn't look too bright for my liking. You just kind of keep going back and forth to find the shade that you like. this is a part of mixing, and I think that is a fun part as well. I mean, just take your time and just feel free to experiment and relax. You don't have to be too serious or put yourself too much pressure to find the exact colors for the painting. The exact color of the photo can be slightly different. It's just really not a big deal. Grasses, I'm going to use a little bit of ochre, yellow ochre, and maybe a bit of cadmium yellow. It's good to have different shade. Yeah, I think that this is good for the base, and I think that this has a little bit of brown as well, but very light brown. Yeah, that should be good. And now we will start to apply the colors onto the paper. The area that has the sunlight on it, will try to see if I can mix a little bit of ultramarine here, and with a little bit of lemon yellow. It's a lot. Very bright green colors. If it's too bright, you can always add more blue. And just back and forth until you find the perfect shade for your painting. I think it's a little bit cold for me. I think it's look a little bit cool for me, so I am going to add a little bit of cadmium yellow to warm it a little bit. Yeah, I think this is perfect. Don't worry if it's too light, because this is just the first layer. Later on we're going to add more layers and more shadows to make it look more dimension and 3D effect. And yeah, okay, let's get started. We're going to use wet and wet technique, so I'm going to use clean water to wet the area first. Make sure that your brush is cleaned of pigments around this area. As you can see, when it has water, it's gonna blend it very well and have a very soft edges as well. Green. Too much of yellow, so just gonna add more ultramarine just to mix these and turn them into green. This is the side where the sunlight is, so I'm just gonna go very light. And here as well. Look like that side appears to have more dry grasses, so I'm gonna put yellow ochre. Like that, and through this side. And I will continue with this side using the mixture that we already mixed earlier. Just really putting color, and don't worry too much about the shape, because later on we're gonna add more detail to define the shape. And if your paper turns too dry during painting, you can always use the clean water and wet it, and before apply another layer. To have a variety of colors, you can actually add, if it's too green, you can add a little bit of cadmium yellow. And don't worry, because the paper is already wet, so they're gonna blend beautifully together. This is the area where the bright grasses is, so I am going to put yellow ochre. This with a little bit of brown. In this area. Green here. This is the area where it appears to be darker compared to the others, so I'm going to add a little bit of brown into it. And I see that there's like big trees over here, so I'm just gonna put the color in the shape. And now I'm just gonna go in and use my black velvet round brush size number 6, because we're gonna start to add detail. I'm just gonna add a little bit of pigment for this tree to indicate some shadow here, because as you can see, it's appear pretty dark in the photo. And I'm just gonna use the tip of the brush to freely paint some lines, indicate that this is a push. Like that. And here will be where the dry grasses are, so I'm just gonna draw lines, like you just use the tip of the brush like this, a very thin and delicate line for grasses. So we see here you can either use yellow ochre or and brown mixed together. Make sure that the area is it can either a little bit damp or completely dry before you paint the grasses. Otherwise, if it's too wet, it's gonna blend out with the background, then you don't actually have a defined shape for the grasses. Yes, you can see it's still a little bit damp, so I think I'm gonna wait for it to be dry and then have another layer to make it have more like a defined shape. And here as well, has more colors because this area tend to be very dark and a lot of brown tone. So you just kind of use the tip of the brush to dot the color so that it have some sort of texture. Again, you for this style of painting, is a loose painting style. You don't actually want to put too much detail into it. It's just enough to communicate with the viewer that there's a pond and then little grasses and bushes and trees around it. And I also use yellow ochre to have a little bit of grass right here. And I will continue to have more detail on this side. And first I am going to paint some grasses over there. I'm trying to use the dry brush technique so that I can leave a little bit white space between to indicate light. I don't know if it's gonna work, but let's just try it. Like that, and then make sure that this is completely dry. And I don't know if it's gonna work, but that's okay. Let's just try it. Part of it, watercolor, is just to experiment and learn from mistakes. Just to have some deep highlight right here. And I'm going to add a little bit of texture for this area to indicate there's some kind of leaves. Like that, and over here too. This area is kind of brownish tone. And also there's grasses over here, but since it's kind of also far in this area, so the grass is gonna appear shorter. This is how you communicate perspective in a painting. So yeah, and maybe the color is gonna be lighter as well. Some yellow and then also some green grasses, like a mixture. I'm going to mix a couple of dark greens to add shadows. So usually to make dark greens, I will use the mixture, whatever mixture that we have, and just add dark color like indigo or paint gray to darken the green. I'm using paint gray, a little bit of hooker and brown. And if it's not dark enough, you can add like paint gray. Shadow here and there. And just go around the area where you think that need a little bit of shadow. I'm going to use a little bit darker brown to add shadow for the grasses. Not too much, because this is the area where the sun hits, so you want to leave it a couple of white space to indicate lights. Just add shadow at the in the bottom. The painting is almost coming together, so I will continue to add more layer into the bushes and grasses to give them more definition. In order to mix the dark green, I'm going to mix this Viridian green. To darken it, I'm going to add indigo. And to make it look warmer, I'm going to add a little bit of brown. And it appeared to be still light, you can always add more indigo to darken the green. Indigo and more brown. Okay, I think that this is the perfect shade. And now I'm going to add into the area where it needs shadow. You don't have to copy exactly where the dark shadow is following the photo. Just add a couple of places to indicate shadow. And over here as well, just a little bit, because this is the area where the sun hits, so I want it to be lighter than the other side. Going to add more grasses for this area, just a little bit. And now I'm going to make a very dark value of brown, I think, for this area at the bottom here. Brown colors, and then add indigo as well. Ooh, this is too. I think I'm gonna add a bit more brown. Okay, I think this is good. And I go in and add another layer for a couple spots to define the area. And also this area, I think that it needs a little more definition, so I'm gonna go in with my brow and add more line to the grass with darker value. And also over here, this is like a light area also, but there's a couple of grasses, so I'm just gonna add a few of them to indicate there are grasses over here. Not too much because it's gonna darken the area, which we don't want. Okay, that's good now. And over here there's grasses where we use a dry brush in the beginning, but I want it to be more defined, so I'm gonna add more grasses over here. Using also the mixture of yellow ochre and brown. Because it's closer to us, so the grass is gonna appear to be longer in shape. And a little bit of shadow here at the bottom. Okay, I think everything looks good now. I'm going to paint the water, which is this area over here. And if you look closely to the area where the water is, you will see that there's a shadow of the bushes and grasses here. It appears to be darker. It has a darker value compared to this area over here. And also right here, you also can see the reflection of the bushes. So this is gonna be the area has the lightest value, which is the area reflect the sky. So I'm going to use cerulean blue and maybe a bit of ultramarine, the same mixture that we use for the sky, to paint the water in the middle here. And for the reflection of the bushes and grasses, I'm going to use a dark green. And I'm going to paint the reflection of the sky first, the last value, and after that added the darker value for the reflection of the bushes. Also use cerulean blue and a little bit of ultramarine. And I'm going to wet the area a little bit. Be careful, just a little bit, not too wet, so otherwise it's gonna bleed all over the place, which we don't want. And now I'm going in and just add it like, and I also want to leave the white space over here between the land and the water to distinguish two area, and also this also indicate light as well. And a little bit up here. Make sure that you don't make this area where it overlaps the grasses too dark, because later on we're gonna add more colors for the grasses. Just like that. I'm gonna wait for this layer to be dry and then add the reflection of the bushes. And now I'm going to paint the reflection, the dark reflection over here, using the same mixture that we use for dark shadow. And to paint a reflection, I'm going to paint it in horizontal line like this. So over here, just paint it very loosely. Light indicate that there's a reflection. You don't have to focus too much on detail. Maybe I'll add a little bit of watercolor over here, just to indicate the shadow, the reflection of the grasses. And wait for it to be completely dry, and then we will add more layer for the area around here, because I think that is dry a little bit too light. I'm going to draw the horizontal line for the water. And now I'm gonna draw a couple of horizontal lines here. To make it look more like a water, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think now the water looks pretty good. I will give more definition for the grasses over here by just using the same yellow ochre with a little bit of brown. And if there's any area that you feel like you need more definition, just feel free to do it. Now it's all about adjustment. Okay, I think This area looks pretty good now. I will move on to the next area, which is the trees in the distance. And now we're going to paint these couple trees in the distance. If you look closely to the picture, it looks like it has a very dark value, just as much as this area. So I'm going to make also a dark green, but a little bit cooler since those trees are in distance. So I think I'm going to, let's see, some hooker green. And also make with some indigo to darken the green. And I want to have a little bit, just a little bit of brown. Oh, I think I put too much. That's okay. You just go in and add more green and add more indigo. More indigo. A little bit cooler. Bluish green. And now I think it's good. So I'm going to paint the trees over here. Just look at the shape of the trees and follow the shape. You don't have to paint exactly like how it appears in the photo. Look at the shape. And even if it doesn't look exactly like the photo, that's okay too. Because we do not aim for realism over here. This is just a loose landscape painting with watercolor. That's a little bit of yellow ochre, since I can see a little bit of yellow as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it, and just a little bit of like shadow like that. And we almost done. And now if you look closely to the photo, you see that there's a lot of like couple things going on. There's grasses over here, trees, and even human figures, and there's like man-made I think there's electricity pole, but I am gonna remove these objects from my painting, and I'm just gonna paint lilies, have some kind of very light wash to indicate that there's still grasses over here. You don't have to put too much detail since it's too far away, and you want the focus to be in this area right here. So yeah, and just draw like horizontal line like that. Indicate that there's something going on over here, that's all. No need to put too much detail. And also leave some white space to indicate the sunlight. And use the same mixture for these three, but dilute with a lot of water to make it lighter. And just draw some kind of trees. There's some tree over here. It's like a little dot because it's just too far away. And that, and some more. Some tree over here. Yeah, that's it. And it looks pretty good now. What you're doing next is you just sit back and look at the painting again and see if there's any area that need more contrast, and then you could add more pigments into it. Okay, I think I should stop here. Okay, since this is the place that I've been to, so I'm going to use my chrome pen to just write the name of the place. This is Sunnyvale Landfill, California. And I'm just gonna sign my name. Sometimes we forget to sign in our painting, but I highly recommend that you do it just to give yourself credit. Done.
I was old, I was young, I was sitting in the sun. I was tired of the run, I was done. Life was great, life was hard, in a way an awful card. You can't win the losing hand. But the rain stopped falling and the line on the floor was crossed. And the pain I'd been feeling washed away to return another day. I was cold, I was bold, I had fragmented my soul into pieces contradicting themselves.
Okay guys, thank you so much for watching, and I am pretty happy with how this painting turned out, and I hope that you find this tutorial helpful and relaxing for you too. And if you like the video like this, don't forget to give me a thumbs up because that could mean a lot to me, and subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this in the future. And I also have a playlist of all the tutorials that I have done in the past. I will link everything in the description below. Don't forget to check that out. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!